I just finished taking a couple through our course on parenting called Parenting on Purpose. And they told me before we started, they said I was really quite nervous. They said I didn't want any more pressure on me as a parent. They said I was almost afraid to go through it because they already felt that parenting was overwhelming, the task of it, the pressures on parents. And so Parenting on Purpose, that the course we do, they thought, we need help, but I don't know that I want to hear what they're going to say. Well, the good news is we make parenting very simple so that parenting can be very powerful. I'll say it again. We make parenting very simple so that life and parenting can be very powerful. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he said something that really rings true. He said, life is very simple. It's just deep. But what culture offers us is the complex and the shallow. I want to say something simple about parenting. This is a football. It's an activity that kids play, but it's a terrible identity. It's an awful identity. I was talking to a young man about a year ago who he's in his upper 20s now, very, very successful at a sport. But he said, I feel like I'm trapped by this sport. He said, I feel like I have to prove myself by what I do with this sport. It was a different sport for him, but it's all the same. He said, I was a star in high school, and then I played Division I ball, and he said, I hated it. And I played some professionally, and I hated it. And he said, now I'm coaching it, and I hate it. And he feels like he's stuck in it. This is what happens when we become successful at things in life, even as adults. The thing we become successful at becomes our identity, but it's a very bad identity. Every bit as much as the jobs that we have it's not a good identity. Our work cannot be our identity. It's too dangerous. So this young man felt like what he does with his sport, let me rephrase that. He felt like what his sport does with him determines his legacy, his identity as a person. But let's go back to when the child is a baby. We would never look at a baby and think or say to that little boy that's 10 or 12, we would never say, you need to be great at football so that your life is great. If you're great at football, if you do great things with football, then your life is going to be good. But if you don't do good with football, then you will have failed. We would never say that to a human being. Yet, when a child is great at an activity as a kid, it's very hard for it not to be their identity. I want to give a simple tactic that I was talking to a man at the gym recently, and he had a son that was very good at baseball at a very prominent high school, a high school that's known around the country for how good they are at baseball. And his son started a number of years there, but baseball was never his identity, it was just his activity. And all throughout as a parent, this dad always promoted character over the sport. He didn't go out of his way to buy new equipment. Think about that. His son played at a premier high school, the sport of baseball. His son was really good, but he said, I didn't buy him new gloves. I didn't buy him new bats. He said, the chores around the house, that had to happen first. One time his son said, but Dad, I have a game later. It was a Saturday, and his dad was like, yeah, so what? Go mow the yard. That's your chore. Go be the son you're supposed to be. So the dad was very careful all the way through the process to not let the activity become the identity, because it's very dangerous. Parenting can seem overwhelming. It can seem absolutely overwhelming. But if it's simple, it can be powerful. And when we simplify parenting, we can have a powerful impact as parents, and our kids can be prepared for adulthood. I hope that encourages somebody. Take the pressure off. But to take the pressure off, we have to keep the simple principles of what we're doing with our kids. Maybe the only thing we do is raise them to be strong in character. Maybe that's all that we ever need to do with our kids, is train them and build them up to be strong in character.